My husband and I went on a grand adventure. We got to go to several national parks, and I bought a book at each one of them so I could share with y'all about the parks. Because I hope one day that you'll get to go visit the parks too. There are so many things to do there and so much beauty to see of God's world and all the wondrous designs He created. And it's good to see them. So, one thing you might need if you're going to go hiking, so that's one of my favorite activities, is a walking stick. This is my walking stick, and it has a few medallions on there that I picked up at the state parks and the national parks that we went to. This one is from Sequoia. It's a bear. This one is from Kings Canyon, Yosemite. And this one is from Yellowstone. And that's the story I'm reading you today is at Yellowstone. So a hiking stick helps me climb up the rocks, or over and down the rocks. Helps me have more secure footing. And also, if I were to get attacked by a mountain lion, it would help me. It might help me defend myself. So something else you might take is a compass. And a compass will tell you which way is north, south, east, or west. And also a whistle would be a good idea. If you have a whistle around your neck, you could blow it if you got lost or if you were hurt and couldn't walk. You could blow the whistle and then people would know where to find you. So, some of the animals, this book is called Wrinklerump. That's a funny name, isn't it? And it's written by Marian Parks. She's the author. And it's illustrated by Christine Karron or Karron. And I like this book because you open it up and it shows you all the different animals that you might see while you're at Yellowstone. Gray wolf, the bighorn sheep, the mule deer. We saw a lot of mule deer and bison. We saw bison too. And a moose and an elk and a pelican even, an osprey and a grizzly bear. And we didn't see any of those. Grizzly bears are brown, like this little bear here. And there's also black bears live at Yellowstone. And here's my little black bear. Actually, I got him at the Smoky Mountains National Park. But he lives in Yellowstone too. Oh, he's so soft. And I picked up this little, my father-in-law actually bought me this, and it's a bison puppet. It's a little finger puppet, like this. I wanted to read this to you about bisons, but I'll have to have my reading glasses. It says, bison are the largest land animals in North America and can be found in plains, prairies, and river valleys. Bisons have thick, shaggy coats so well insulated that snow can settle on their backs and not even melt. Bison have poor eyesight, but have acute hearing and an excellent sense of smell. Bison herds are on the move while they eat, and they are led by the females of the family. All right, you got your cozy blanket. This story is a little longer than the last one I read you, so get comfortable. Get your cozy blanket. Okay, Wrinklerump by Marian Parks. Oh, and looky here. The illustrator put a nice map of Yellowstone right in there in the front of the book. Near the old fishing bridge on a knotty pine stump sat a young grizzly bear fondly called Wrinklerump. He pondered and worried as the day grew dark. how he'd survived winter in Yellowstone Park. See him sitting there on the stump? He was just 2 years old and not fully grown, and had to plan for his first winter alone. Like all grizzly bears, he would need a safe den where he'd hibernate until spring came again. He did his best thinking, slouched on a pine stump, which left an imprint of tree rings on his rump. He sat and recalled what his mother had said. Don't look for your den till you're plump and well fed. Then find a treed slope before snow hits the ground, and whatever you do, don't dally around. Wrinklerump always liked to sightsee and explore, but hard work he hated and preferred to ignore. So, as Mother advised, he foraged for roots, moss hiding under rocks, and ripe berry fruits. He feasted and gorged until few plants remained, while the red squirrels watched, disapproved, and complained. Squirrels said, "Wrinklerump, are you aware that you've eaten far more than your rightful share? If you stay much longer, red squirrels will be doomed. The twigs, seeds, and insects will all be consumed. We forage all winter, nearly starve until spring, while you'll hibernate and not need a thing. Please go down the river to claim your cave spot. You'll find lots of fish and a cozy mud pot." Those squirrels are afraid they're going to eat all of their food. He's going to eat all of their food. Feeling ashamed and a bit hungry too, he borrowed 2 oars and a wooden canoe. Past Lahardy's rapids, he found a mud pot and sat down to munch on the trout that he'd caught. A rotten egg stench filled the air all around, and mud pots burnt gas from the piping hot ground. "That's sulfuric acid turning rock into goo," announced Bison Bull, who lived there and knew. "This place isn't safe," the old bison said. "You should make your cave in the mountains ahead." Then the hot spring sizzled, gassy mud pots roared. The bear ran for the boat and jumped safely aboard. See the big bison? Remember, they're the largest land animal in North America. The broad Hayden Valley soon burst into view, with mule deer and pronghorns gliding gracefully through. "Where's everyone going?" Wrinklerump asked a deer. She said, "Migrating south like we do every year." "You should be in the mountains," scolded the doe. "Most bears made their caves more than 2 weeks ago. Head for the trees. They'll help hide your den." But Wrinklerump paddled off downstream again. Noisy white pelicans soared through the sky. They also were leaving and honking goodbye. Wrinklerump waved as they passed side by side, and then held on tight for a rollicking ride. He raised his legs high for the upper falls treat and squealed as he plunged over 100 feet. He was having fun and feeling carefree and wanted more time to explore and sightsee. He scampered to shore just before Lower Falls and climbed right up Yellowstone's Grand Canyon wall. Gas and steam puffed from the ryle-like crust, eroding the rocks and making them rust. A lone osprey hovered above him and said, "You'd better skedaddle, a storm is ahead." The clouds in the sky loomed hostile and gray, which convinced Wrinklerump to leave right away. See the waterfalls and the osprey in the sky? Mount Washburn was close. He could see its treed side, so he thought he had time for the Grand Loop bus ride. He would hop off the bus at the Mount Washburn sign and then look for a grove of spruce, aspen, or pine. But the journey was bumpy, windy, and steep, and lulled the young bear into a deep sleep, and he missed his spot. See, there's other bears making their caves, and he slept right past them. The bus passed Mount Washburn and was now westward bound to a place where a cave wouldn't likely be found. Poor Wrinklerump. At Mammoth Hot Springs, Wrinklerump stirred awake, alarmed and upset at his foolish mistake. This was no treed slope, but instead a strange mound, rising like stairs from the steaming hot ground. It's travertine rock, a perceptive elk said. It flows to the surface from the limestone seabed. Cracks in the earth cause hot water to rise, and what's left behind is this white stone surprise. Wrinklerump thought, well, what should I do? The travertine rock is too hard to dig through. Snowflakes now fell through the bitter cold air. Wrinklerump knew he had no time to spare. There's the perceptive elk. See the snowflakes falling? Wrinklerump is in trouble. He lumbered for miles till he reached an odd stream that billowed out puffs of foul-smelling steam. This is Firehole River, a moose bellowed out, known for fumaroles and delightful brown trout. Fumaroles are gassy, rare thermal features. Steam gushes from vents like lost, ghostly creatures. Magma heats water that seeped underground and turns it to steam with a shrill hissing sound. It's a grand river, Wrinklerump replied, but I need a den on a treed mountainside. Wrinklerump shivered, snow covered his snout. He worried that maybe his time had run out. Poor Wrinklerump. Damn, he doesn't look happy. He followed the river, alert, cautious, and slow. There were predator tracks in the first winter snow, a pack of gray wolves out prowling for prey. Wrinklerump bolted when they circled his way. It snowed while I was at Yellowstone. It was beautiful. Boldly they chased him to the Old Faithful Inn, but retreated when they saw an eruption begin. The geyser gushed water in a fountain-like spray. Wrinklerump didn't stop for the showy display. That is Old Faithful. Old Faithful is the geyser at Yellowstone that erupts water from its hole every hour and 43 minutes. And there's the Old Faithful Inn. I got to spend the night there. It's historic. But that's not where Wrinklerump needs to make a den, so on he goes. Plodding to Yellowstone Lake's icy shore, he wondered if he could go on any more. Snow flurries were blinding, wind pummeled his head. Why hadn't he done as Mother had said? Don't dally around, was what she'd always say. Wrinklerump, do your work and then you can play. He wished he had waited till spring to sightsee, and instead burrowed into a hollowed-out tree. Wrinklerump slowly raised his frost-coated eyes. It took him a moment to fully realize that he'd reached Lake Village near Old Fishing Bridge and his favorite park trail with the view from the ridge. I've been there too. The snowfall was easing when he found the trail sign that led to a slope of spruce, aspen, and pine. He trudged through deep snow using muscle and might toward the north side that was sheltered just right. At the base of a tree, he dug through the snow, making sure that his cave was hidden and low. He made a small chamber without a front door and then laid out spruce boughs for a bed on the floor. He's making a den. Yay for Wrinklerump. He sat on a stump before going in and thought of the magical places he had been. He relaxed, worry-free, alone in the dark, knowing he had survived winter in Yellowstone Park. There he is. Wrinklerump finally made his den, just like his mother said. Good for Wrinklerump. And that's the end. I hope you get to go on many grand adventures, and I hope you get to see Yellowstone one day.